Good morning. Have we any visitors this morning? Nobody? Too early? Nobody from Green Bay? Nobody here. Today we begin the first part of the actual Sermon on the Mount. Last week we heard the introduction by Jesus, kind of the outline, which we call the 8 Beatitudes. And he begins immediately with these two similes, one of light and one of salt. And to understand the ramifications of what he's saying here, we have to first of all understand the culture, and then secondly, we have to take a moment and think about the properties of these two things which he chose to use as examples. First of all, he says that if salt loses its taste, well, then it's no longer salt, right? It's just stuff. It's not salt. And so he says, you are the salt of the earth. So what he's saying is, if you lose your taste, if you lose the ability to affect the surroundings, then what good are you? What does salt do? Salt is used to heal, to soak poison out of the body. It's used to season meat or other food, to enhance the flavor. Salt is used to melt ice for reasons of safety. Salt is used to preserve, as in when you would salt meat to put it away. And so what Jesus says is, you are the salt of the earth. So if you look at the properties of salt, then you are called to be that. So as salt of the earth, we are called to heal. As salt of the earth, we are called to preserve that which is good. As salt of the earth, we are called to add something to the world in which we live. That the world should be a better place, because we're part of the mix. Now, it's important for you to understand that in Jesus' time, this was revolutionary talk. Because if you look at the Middle East today, you'll see the very same situations that existed in Jesus' time. The way you practice is by killing the other one. The way that you bring your faith to the world is by bludgeoning people into submission. Jesus said we're not going to do that. His incarnational theology says that we're just going to be salt. We're just going to sit there and slowly impact our society, that we are going to slither our way in to the society until it is transformed by our presence. Revolutionary. You didn't do it that way. You built an army, you went and smashed the next kingdom, and you made them what you are. Still happening. Still happening today. And that's why Jesus' teaching is so revolutionary. He was saying in the Sermon on the Mount, this is a new beginning. We're not going to do it the old way. We're going to do it a new way. And we're going to do it quietly and imperceptibly, but we are going to do it. The world is going to be changed. The world is going to be a better place. The world will be affected if every Christian, if every follower understands that they are the salt of the earth. Now, the challenge for you and me is this. How have you salted the earth recently? In your place of work? Is it a better place? Or do you just join in with the gossip, with the bad language? I love it when people come to confession and say, oh, Father, I used bad language, but I work in the mill. What, is there a rule? You have to cuss if you work in the mill? I never saw it. Is that a union regulation? That you can't be in the mill if you don't cuss. That is such crazy logic. I don't know how else to tell you. It's just crazy. You remember what our mothers used to say? If they told you to jump off the bridge, would you do it? Remember when Mother used to say that? Okay. Crazy logic. That the world doesn't affect us, we affect the world. We're the salt of the earth. We're the ones who make our way into places like the mill. And we don't beat people up with the Bible. We don't pound people on the head. And we don't preach necessarily. But through our example, we begin to change the texture and the environment. So we're the salt of the earth. And you've got to challenge yourself. When your friends call you to gossip about somebody else, can you tell them that, I'm sorry, I have to go take care of something? Or do you get sucked into the gossip and become the same as them? The second simile he uses is that of light. If you look at light, what does light do for us? Light has several properties. One is it shows us the way home. So if you're out at sea and you see the light of the lighthouse, you know that where to go is safe. If you're out in the woods and you are looking for a way and you see a home with a fireplace that's lit and burning, it gives you a sense of warmth and hospitality, a sense of even romance. A light keeps you from tripping, keeps you from falling in the darkness. A light keeps you from going in the wrong direction. Depending on the color of the light, it produces safety, as in a stoplight. Light has so many properties. We use it to celebrate. We put lighted candles on a birthday cake, right? And when you begin to get older, like we all are, it also serves as a secondary source of heat when you light all those candles on the birthday cake. So light has these properties of drawing people to safety, these properties of hospitality. I'll leave the light on for you. So again, you need to challenge yourself. How are you the light of the world? Do you welcome people? Are you hospitable? Are you a place where people can come to be warmed from the coldness of the world? Or do you look like just the world? Do you act and talk just like the world does? Are you lacking in compassion? Do you not really care about how people feel? Because Jesus says that's not what we do. Now let us look what happens if we don't take Jesus at his word. If you are the salt of the earth, what happens if you leave salt in a coffee can over a long period of time? It will consume the very container that holds it. It will rust it. It will rot it. If you take too much salt and dump it all over your steak, you will no longer be able to taste the meat. If you use too much salt, you can kill the earth. You can prevent it from being a place of growth. So there's a balance that Jesus sets for us, that we are not to pound the Bible as some of our brethren do and force you to believe. That's not our style. We are the salt of the earth. We're not here to bludgeon you. We're not here to oppress you. We're not here to make you, recreate you in our image and likeness. That's God's job. So we need moderation. When we are the light, when we are the salt, we do all things in moderation to enhance the good creation that God has already made. What happens if you're driving on a country road at night and someone comes around the bend with their high beams on? It disorients, it blinds, could even be dangerous. Too much light, too much salt is not where Jesus wants us to go. So in this very first part of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is laying out a totally new program. We're stopping right now. We are no longer going to be violent. We are no longer going to believe that we can spread God's word by the sword. We are no longer going to believe that God's word and God's love can be spread through subjugation, through prejudice, and through hate. That was revolutionary in Jesus' time. And I can see by the expressions on your faces this morning that you're just amazed. As we leave here today, think of salt and think of light. That's what we are to be to the world. In moderation, we are to affect the fabric of our society. We are to be the voices of calm in the midst of the storm. We are to be the safe harbor in the midst of the storm. So as you pray, challenge yourself. How can you be light today? How can you be salt? And make sure that the world, in fact, will have been a better place for your having been here. You don't have to recreate the world. God already did that. All we have to do is influence it through His grace by the way we live and speak and act. Salt and light. That's who we're supposed to be. Read the Sermon on the Mount. It really is about you and me. Pick it up this week. 5th, 6th, and 7th chapter of St. Matthew. The essence of Jesus' revolutionary teaching. Be at peace.